Howdy folks, here's like a part 4 video today, and while I was walking through here I noticed that I finally have found an example of an invasive air potato vine. Now the first thing that comes to mind for you guys is, are they native? No, they're not. They actually come from parts of Asia, Africa, and even Europe, I believe. Now, with that being said, I think some of the main reasons that it was introduced was the fact that it may have added ornamental value, perhaps, because of its vining pattern. But the thing is, though, this is what it can do to an ecosystem. You know, the good news is, as you can see, it has been a bit controlled here, but I may actually share like a photo that I've taken at this same spot when I was here a couple of months ago, because it absolutely blanketed the whole ground. Now, some of you may be wondering too, like, you know, is it really a potato? I hate to say it to you guys, no, it's not a potato by any means. Rather, it is actually a type of yam. You know, it falls within the yam family. And unfortunately, their food is not edible. It actually has particular toxin compounds that makes it unsafe for consumption. You know, where we could experience extreme stomach pain, vomiting, or even diarrhea. So, don't eat it, is what I'm trying to say. And as a matter of fact, while I'm here, this is why I wanted to take my video here, because I found a good specimen. This is essentially a little air potato that it produces. This is the food. Now, since it's poisonous for us, I believe it could be edible for our wildlife. But that's the one controversy, though. Since it is invasive, the wildlife doesn't necessarily recognize it as like another plant or food source. So unfortunately, these guys can reproduce very, very quickly. And they can grow very quickly, too. I mean, I've read the fact that these can grow up to 8 inches in one day. Depending on, of course, the types of conditions. Now, I think I've read, in regard to this plant, there is a well-known biological control agent. I believe it's called the Asian Longhorn beetle. I'll be sure to clarify the exact name, but it has been found that they do consume this plant. Now, I believe that is why we're seeing some of this on the leaves. And they actually do feed on the actual food itself that I was holding just a moment ago. So, with that being said, there's one way that you can really recognize this plant as well. Because there's other vines that are also invasive down here as well, but there's one distinction. You see, right here, you see the actual vine itself. Well, as you can see, it's kind of following like a counterclockwise spiral pattern. So it's coming from the right and then going to the left, hence counterclockwise. Or should I say from the left to the right, excuse me. So you can see, because, you know, when you look at a counterclockwise direction, here's like, you know, say my finger is like the pointing finger on a clock. It's going this way. So in a sense, it's going like this. So, whereas most other vines, whether they're native or invasive, they follow a clockwise pattern. So that's just something for all of you to keep in mind. And yeah, they are considered to be a noxious weed also, just like the plant I was pointing out earlier. So they essentially act as a blanket in an ecosystem, which then prevents any other native vegetation from growing. So that's a bit of a problem, as some of these native plants our wildlife relies on. I mean, good news is we are seeing a native shrub right here, which is our well-known firebush, so named for the flowers. It has a bit of a fire color to it. Other than that, though, a lot of this area is full of your air potato vine, which is a problem. Now, there's a couple different ways in which you can treat it. One of the most well-known herbicides used to treat this plant is glyphosate. Now, unfortunately, glyphosate is it's a bit controversial, especially down here, since glyphosate is also found in Roundup, and since that pesticide or fertilizer contains your nitrogen and phosphorus, and that leads to the excess nutrients, leading to algal blooms. So actually, another method that I have read that is a bit more sustainable is using like a molasses concentration in water. And of course, another method that you can use is hand pulling, also known as mechanical removal. But that's same thing. It's a bit harder just because they have very extensive roots. And so, with that being said, they can spread so easily due to how extensive their network is. But yeah, they're just, and that's the thing sometimes. Like, I hate to say it, but like, you can remove invasive plants, but usually once they're so established, it's almost impossible to completely remove. You know, like in terms of completely eradicating it as to where you don't see it. But I'm sure, like, if early action were taken, you know, preventative action, perhaps there would have been a better result. But since it's happened for so long and people have allowed the spread of it to happen, it's basically difficult and almost impossible to completely eradicate. So just keep that in mind too. That's another invasive plant that is found here. And they are, of course, distinguished by having kind of like those lance-shaped heart leaves too. So that's something to look out for. But yeah, you can even see it right here too. Give me a second. Yeah. Like, it kind of follows that counterclockwise pattern as it makes its way down. So, alright, you guys. I'll be sure to share an article regarding a bit further on the invasive air potato vine. Even though it's not really a potato. It's technically more of a yam. But definitely the invasive plants need to be shown more attention. That way an ecosystem isn't completely wiped out. So alright, you guys, take care. Thanks for watching. And once again, journey on a journey is outwards. Take care, folks. See ya.